This was recommended also by municipal research for several reasons. Number one, we don't have a policy in regard to an official policy of the town in regard to written communications. Second of all, although we've reviewed this particular item several times over the past couple of years, it should provide clarity. It came, I believe, as a template document from another community, and then it was revised and reviewed by our attorney.
Which community was it? I couldn't find a single thing like this. Any municipal, any of the cities in Washington State.
I don't know off the top of my head, I can give you that information.
Because I looked up to find out where this language came from.
You know where I think it was, if I remember right? Wasn't that Des Moines? You know what? Anyway, we can look into
I
that.
don't remember, but it was revised quite a bit by our own attorney. So there were a lot of changes made to it.
I searched all the words that were in here and couldn't find any of
You know, I have a real,
resolution.
first of all, I agree with the basic premise that, elected officials should not, hold a meeting without doing a public meeting. I got no problem with that. And I understand, I'm the one that called it, that we shouldn't start communicating by email. But I have a real problem with, look at section 6 here. Council members shall retain in an accessible format all town-related documents and emails received from any source sent to anyone. It's like, okay, I'm done. I don't want any more emails from anybody. I will not accept emails from the town. They'll go straight to spam. What I suggest is the opposite, because we've had that problem at school. God forbid, you have inappropriate communication with students. Now we communicate by email. It's in an open format. Everybody has access to it. So, Facebook, Google, or whatnot, they have sites where it's an open site that is, so all the communications would be done through that open site, and the public could look at it. And so, actually, if we had an idea that we don't have time for the city council, that we just want to discuss and throw out there, that other, we can all talk about it, and in fact, it would be public, and I don't know if that's legal, but I mean, this is so yesterday. The next step is, the city council meeting is in fact online for anybody to look at, and maybe there's a place for commenting or not commenting, and this would be public. I don't want to retain records in my computer. Forget it. I don't want to go there. I don't want any more communications, from anybody related to town business on my emails. If I start having to, all emails should promptly be made available to town staff, legal counsel, etc. I don't hear it. I mean, I think it's ludicrous. It's unrealistic.
I have a recommendation. The Mount Vernon City Council, they meet every week. Their meetings are the first and the third Mondays, but on the second and the fourth Mondays, they have like a town meeting where the town is invited, council is all here, and it's just for discussion. There is no action taken, but anybody can put anything on the agenda and speak to any issue, and it allows for people to voice their opinions about anything. And I know that this has helped their council. It allows the council to discuss things just in the discussion, rather than being in a meeting format where sometimes it's limited. And it's actually made that council, they had a very dissensive council prior, and now they're all getting along because they've had that opportunity to discuss issues in a very more relaxed, I mean, the tables are put together. It's not for people, for our constituents coming and speaking to us, it's more of a conversation or town hall meeting. So I would recommend that we do something like that as opposed to open more communication rather than limited.
Yeah, and actually,
Between the five of us
And
and,
it could be online.
the people that live in this town.
it could
Well,
be
let me
online.
give you some more background in regard to this. This is not my recommendation.
Right, I understand.
This is municipal research's recommendation to the town from their lawyer, one of their lawyers. They have many that work with there. My goal is this. Number one, I have a responsibility to present this resolution to you, okay? You can say, you know what, we don't like it, we're not gonna do it. Or you can say, okay, we like it, we're gonna do it. But I have to protect the town from liability. And that liability of these illegal communications, in this case, is coming from the council. So that was the basis of this document, the recommendation, is to provide clarity, protect the town from liability, and establish a policy In absence of being able to establish a policy, we have a video record and an audio record that this is something the town presented, and that provides hopefully some measure of protection for the town.
In speaking of Dale Reagan, I'm the town council for Mount Vernon. He said they send emails regularly, they receive and get emails from other council members, as long as they do have that one stipulation we put in that document, that they can't respond. So as long as there's an email sent and there's no response, there is no conversation, there is no private meeting. And so in the case with Dan, that nothing occurred. He sent an email, we all knew that he shouldn't have sent that email, or we shouldn't respond.
No, he could send it,
Did
but he was
not.
asking for a response, it was like, what do you think, or something.
Yeah, but we did
like
not
that.
respond because that would constitute a conversation. The issue here is the conversation. He wants something he wanted to have a conversation about, and we don't have an avenue to provide that conversation, not just for Dan, but for the people in the community. And I think we need to rectify that.
That is simply not true. You have been invited over the years that if you had an issue that you want to talk about, any specifics that you want to bring, we can bring it forth in council committee or directly to the mayor and they'll be discussed. But that did not happen in this case. There was no discussion, there was no request, there was no
There was no
response.
discussion, there's no response.
There was no letter, there was no citing of any incidents, there was, I have.
I
not
didn't
received
even,
any.
I was unaware of it, if this was even a conversation.
And
I
also,
was thinking
if you
about
read our attorney's response to you, indeed, there was a violation.
No, there wasn't.
it.
No, there wasn't. That's your interpretation, but there wasn't. I read Brad's response.
Read it again
I read it again.
and speak to Brad.
Well, okay, thank you.
What I would like to recommend is that you look into, if it's at all legally possible, because I bet you that's the next thing. It would be an open, a Facebook, whatever page, or whatever it is, or Google, whatever page, that we all have access to, that we could discuss things on, and it would be public, because it would be open to the public, it would be publicized that it exists,
Sure.
and that way we could communicate that way, Otherwise, I actually would like to retire from the, email aspect, because I don't really like that. I mean, I understand that language, I understand why, but I mean, that's yesterday's battle, I don't want to fight it.
Well, it's my responsibility to present it to you.
Yeah, I heard it.
So what we're looking for tonight in regard to this policy, and you may say great, or you may say not, but I'm going to present it to you, is a motion to pass this document as recommended by municipal research and our attorney.
May I state something?
Sure.
Whether or not the council adopts this or not, it still applies to you. It's state law.
This is.
There's no need for this.
Exactly, so there's no need for it.
The reason for this is that
There really isn't.
everybody understands the importance.
And frankly,
And we
if
did.
Dan had been sent to the training, if Dan had been sent to the training and understood the new rules about emails, this never would have been a problem.
No, we are not, I want to say we're not city employees, we're elected officials, and this is why I feel, of course we're going to have the law, and why duplicate it, so it's fine.
You're about to say.
I was just going to say that this is a very important topic. It's becoming more important. And what this would do is just make you aware that you know what your responsibilities are and to try to protect the town and to protect you. And if you were to pass this, you certainly can't say to town hall, I don't want any emails. But even if there's an email that's going around that is not asking for discussion, the town hall still is supposed to have a copy of that email. That is a public record. If someone came into the office and said, I want a copy of his email, I should have it
So Dan
to
said,
produce for it.
Dan has sent me 20 emails since January 1 in reference to lots of different things, issues around sewer. He sends me once a month, after every meeting, I get a summary of this meeting. So I can't receive any of those meetings, is that?
You should be printing out a paper copy of it and providing it
No,
to town hall.
because that was an email between two members, and it was not a public meeting.
Was it just to you or was it to all?
It was to everyone.
then it is a public record.
But, all right, so.
Wait, you're sending stuff to the whole town.
Yeah, he is.
That's a whole
How many,
different
how
story.
many?
That's a whole-
Yes, I
No,
know.
guys, it's a law.
if it includes council members, then
It
it is
does.
a public record.
Yeah, it's a law.
Okay, bottom line is, Stuart, all of you, I don't care what you do. This is a recommendation from the attorneys at Municipal Research. This is also a recommendation from the town attorney. If you feel you know better than that, then don't approve it.
I don't
But
understand why I couldn't find this in any other
Excuse me.
municipal code.
All I'm
in the state
asking-
of Washington.
Is that
Yeah.
you either approve it or you don't, but we are looking for a motion on this.
Well, even if we approve it, we could still establish what Jacques is talking about. I really think that we don't get public people here for public comment, because sometimes they feel intimidated to come into a formal meeting.
I have no-
Maybe on a blog, they would voice an opinion about something they've heard about or something they're concerned about, but I'm not stopped on the street 100 times a month with the general public telling me what they think about what's going on. People, you know, unless you go door to door again, like when you're campaigning to be elected, do you really hear what people are thinking and feeling? And I admit, I don't go door to door at this point in my life to try to find out. I hope that people would come to me if they had concerns or comments, but they don't. People don't tend to do that. They might on a blog, they might in a general town meeting. But they don't come here as referenced by how many meetings do we have a year, and hardly any public comes. or
Have you ever come
comes.
to the Trumper Gallery?
Have
It's
I
like-
ever?
It's like the second town hall. Let me tell you. But let me just say this
Back
again.
barber shop.
This does not prohibit you from doing additional things that have merit. For example, what you were suggested, or Jacques, what you were
Well, I'm
suggesting.
asking for legal advice, would that be legal? And
You
if it-
still have retention records, it still has to be. put
Yeah, but
back
it
in
would,
the town
no,
as a
but
retainer.
it would be an official thing that is automatically retained. I mean, I'm saying that's what we have at school. We're a little bit advanced there because otherwise we have a real problem if the communication isn't public. And so it's automatically retained there, it's all taken care of, we're legally protected, and that's what I'm suggesting for you to ask. It may not exist yet because we may still be behind it. Is there a way where it's like an open thing, where we can communicate openly, but of course it will also be a place that the public can look at and communicate? If it doesn't exist, that's fine.
Sure.
I'm just saying, because I bet you that's what's coming somewhere.
Bill, did you want to say something?
If I may, I'm a neutral party, and I'm not giving legal advice, I'm not capable or qualified to do that, but as a county employee, I can give you a real-life example of what you're facing with this day and age of emails. The county is inundated regularly with public disclosure requests for emails. The people will give a topic that they're looking for, they will give a certain time frame for the public disclosure under state law. If we don't comply with that, it's a several $100,000 fine, and there's people targeting government agencies for that purpose only. They don't give a rat's what's in the email. They're looking to make money. And we have a retention requirement that when we communicate even between employees, it's not just our administration or our county government sending information. It's employee to employee email. There, as Lorraine was explaining about the retention requirement, that's a very real risk that you're facing if you don't retain that information. And I strongly suggest you get a hold of Brad to give that, if he hasn't done so already, give that explanation of what the requirements are for retention, because I know the county is getting inundated regularly. And what we do as employees, we're told by our supervisors to not only retain the information, but when requested, provide it within the time frame given, and it's a very short window to provide it. And there's financial consequences if you don't.
I also require text too.
Okay, so
Texting?
I would,
Is that?
Currently, they don't get email, but that could be.
The answer to this is you don't email, you don't text of the council members, period. That's the answer to the.
Yeah, it really is.
I know it's on the record.
I don't.
Go ahead. I know it's on the record, but I want to state this for the record. I do not want to be contacted by any person from the city council by email at all. I do not want to be contacted by the town for email at all. I will put into spam, I will actually put the town's address into spam. I don't want to hear from email anymore. I'll be really happy to get things by mail, by your telephone, or you can stop by my house or the I mean, I'm just stating that now because I think it's ludicrous. I think it's ludicrous.
Again.
And it's small town enough, it's not gonna affect our business.
Again, you know, what brought this up is not to.
I understand that.
do anything.
I understand. It's nothing
It's not
personal.
my recommendation, this is the recommendation of municipal research, it is the recommendation of your attorney, and I want to put a remark, I do care what you do in regard to this, but I just recognize that you do what you do and we do what we do.
Well,
So-
I move that we adopt resolution number 477 because needs to be in our books that we have it. If that's what MRSC is recommending, I mean, we need to do. So I move that we pass resolution 477.
Do we have a second? Okay, the motion fails due to lack of a second. Thank you. Let's move on to community comments. Any community comments tonight?
Is there a time for miscellaneous?
Yeah, it's coming right up.
Okay,
So, yeah, chime right in, go ahead.
I'm concerned about the previous vote that we just took on this parking infractions. At the bottom of the page, it specifically says, with an asterisk, per RCW 46.19.050,